Some wedding photographers say never look at another photographer's work. Some, like me, say you definitely should. Let's talk about it. I think it's part of human nature to see where you might fit in. Whether it's a social group or a financial group, the classic keeping up with the Joneses, or just to see where your skill set is in comparison to someone else's. Our work doesn't exist in a vacuum. Our skill set and our personalities and our marketing live in a world where other people are in the same field as us. I think it's good to look at the work of people in your area if your client base is similar. That informs you as to the skill level of the people near you and how they're marketing themselves. If there's any similarity there, to me that would be an indicator of where I should not be putting my own energy. If everyone in my area is doing bright and airy or dark and moody or whatever the trend of the day is, I would personally counter-program to work or marketing that stands out from what everyone else is doing. When you're newer, you might have a wellspring of creativity bursting from your head and your heart. When I was in that position, I kind of felt like I knew everything I needed to know, but I was too inexperienced to know better. I had no shortage of ideas, but not the experience to turn them into something I felt might be great. I've heard it said that looking at other people's work will influence you too much and turn you into a copycat. I don't buy that, because if you have your own vision and your own point of view, looking at other people's work can only make you more certain about what you're doing. To that point, do your own thing. There's a difference between inspiration and imitation. Imitation is the top of the bell curve. That's where the majority are. When your work looks like everyone else's, you're all fishing in the same pond for the same clients. If you go in a different direction and be yourself, you're going to find those clients that resonate with you and with your work. The less your photography looks like someone else's, the more likely you are to attract the clients you want to work with and do the type of work you want to do. And maybe, just maybe, because your work is visibly different, you can charge a little bit more. If you're unique in some way, there's a scarcity to that aesthetic or that approach that some people might be willing to pay more for. In any creative endeavor, it's only natural to want to compare yourself to what's been done before. Maybe you want to see if your idea is original or see if it's too close to something else that's already out there. I don't feel you should let that stop you from putting your own thing out into the world. I'd been thinking about starting a YouTube channel for years before I actually flipped the switch and began working on it in earnest. It took months of learning the different pieces and how they all fit together. Being a photographer, I already had most of the gear I was going to need, but for the content I wanted to speak in my own voice and not inadvertently skew too closely to what someone else may have already done. There are no shortage of photography YouTube channels, so when the inevitable thought of, what do you have to offer, would pop into my head, I took the advice of great marketers and YouTubers I was inspired by and answered, well, why not me? The same thing applies to our photography. There are many ways to compose a photograph or pose a subject or process the resulting files. I'm sure we can all think of one or two photographers off the top of our heads whose work is so unique and so part of the 1% of creative, original image makers, their imagery and voices truly stand out. Me, I'm part of the other 99. I'm not complaining, I get by, but those 1%ers are inspiring. Looking at other photographers' work is to appreciate their art and their vision. And if that sparks an idea I can put my own spin on, that encourages me to experiment and grow and keep striving to be better. When the occasional bride says, hey, can I show you my pinboard? Or I have some examples of photography I like, I say bring it on. If they're looking at other photographers for inspiration, I want to know where their head is at. If there's something specific they have in mind, I certainly don't want to recreate another photographer's work or make an image that's exactly like what was made for someone else's wedding. But I can use what they sent me as a jumping off point to create something unique and original for them. One time I had a bride send me a pinboard of photos she was inspired by. It featured colorful foliage, portraits with bodies of water in the background, cobblestone streets, stunning sunsets, just beautiful photography. The thing was, their wedding was going to be in Massachusetts in November, when there's no foliage left, at a venue near no bodies of water, with nary a cobblestone to be found, with timing that put the ceremony and portraits after the sun had set. What can you do with that? Well, I looked harder at those photos from other photographers to find something deeper in them, some kind of through line that spoke to something other than what was on the surface. And there was. The couples in those photos were embracing some way. It was physical touch, it was connection. So because there was literally nothing I could do about the time of year, nor the background, nor the lighting, nor the environment that was featured in the photos she shared with me, I instead tried to empathize with the feeling they might have given her, and made a portrait of her and her husband that sprang from that feeling. And she loved it. I guess I don't get why someone would suggest not looking at other people's work. Painters look at other painters and writers read other writers, so why should photographers not look at other photographers? Wedding photographers can be a unique bunch though. I love my community. My best friends are photographers. We look at each other's work all the time and share the work from other photographers we think they might appreciate. And as you would expect, there are photographers we look at and say, I'm not sure what this guy was going for, while shaking our collective heads. You know you do it too. We're rooting for these guys, though, and sometimes they do have that breakthrough, and that's something to celebrate. Maybe it's a movie, or a podcast, or a novel, or a comic book, or a TED Talk, or a lecture at a local college. We're living in a golden age of ideas, or at least a golden age of access to ideas we can mine for inspiration. Your mileage may vary. I love photography. I love being a wedding photographer. I look at all kinds of photographers' work. Portrait artists and fine art photographers, boudoir photographers and photojournalists, it all goes into the mix. But I also look at painters and illustrators and filmmakers, and I watch a bunch of YouTube channels. Inspiration is everywhere and there's so much of it. I say take it all in. Thank you for watching. If you like what you saw in this video, please like and subscribe, and feel free to leave a comment if you're so inclined. If you'd like to see more, check out this other video I made for you. This is Ask a Wedding Photographer. I'm Seth Kay, and I'm here to help.